Hello everybody, my name is Sniping is Fun. I welcome all of you back to my next video and present to all of you here on YouTube a temporary return to my top 10 lists. I know I haven't done a top 10 in quite some time, since like the end of 2017, and I've been saying multiple times over the last couple months that I want to return to doing those, and that's going to happen in the coming weeks and months. Not just yet, but it is coming. But this video right here is a unofficial, official, temporary return. That's the reason why I said temporary, because it's not the full-fledged official return. That's going to come later. But I wanted to do one to kind of, add content to a top 10 list. I haven't done it in so long, and show you I still am wanting to do these things. And I'm going to do it in the style of my, the 5 list, where I just either give you a visual aid, like printed off picture, or just tell you the thing, or have an index card or something, not like I did my original top 10s like last year with the TV screen in the background with the visual aid picture and slideshow type thing. I just wanted to make it simple for all of you that have been growing used to my the 5 list. Something more simplistic, something like more just turn the camera on and just talk to all of you. But like, what better idea, what better topic for me specifically, or in general, because the gaming industry now and what was announced a few weeks back, to do a top 10 on, even temporarily before I eventually get back into doing them officially in the future, than to talk about the new upcoming Smash Bros. Game on the Nintendo Switch, Smash Bros. 5, or whatever the heck they call it. The 5th Smash Bros. Game, or 6th, because people sometimes consider the Wii U and 3DS games different. Sakurai 2, supposedly, which makes no sense because it's 2 different versions of the same game. But whatever. I'm going to be doing this top 10 on my top 10 wanted newcomers in the new Smash Bros. Game. I know I already did a video technically on like what do I want to see in Smash Bros., but that was more of like a out of nowhere video, just me throwing out ideas as I was recording it. I wasn't really planning ahead on what I was talking about there, and I didn't even just talk about characters. I talked about like modes and costumes and ideas and stuff like that. So I was talking about different things, just throwing ideas out there for characters and whatnot. And the characters were in there and at the end, but just more random, like throwing out like what I thought would be cool and stuff like that. This is a thought out list on characters I personally want, my top 10 characters I personally want. And before I get started, I will say this is a list that's at least probable. None of the characters on this list are not out of the realm of probability, like random off the wall, characters, or especially the weird characters people name like Goku and Shrek and whatnot. There's none of that on this list, and there's no characters that I don't think at least have a shot for Smash Bros. 5. It's a personal want list, but I was trying to be reasonable and realistic. So there's, before I get started on that, and before I get this intro to take for freaking ever, because my top 10s usually go on forever, I'm going to be now starting the list right now of my top 10 wanted newcomers in the next Smash Bros. Game. And we're going to start off with number 10, and that goes to Captain Toad. I haven't actually played the Captain Toad game yet, Treasure Tracker. It's now coming out for the 3DS. And it's now coming out for the Switch, and it was on the Wii U. I never got around to playing it, but I always thought it was a pretty cool idea. And I did love the levels in 3D World. He made his start. Captain Toad, the version of this Toad, made his start in, 3D World, is in, Odyssey, and now has 3 different versions of his game. And I'm assuming we're eventually going to get a Treasure Tracker 2 on the Switch, I'm sure. And he's grown in popularity. Why do I want him? I think it'd be a cool, unique character. He seems like he is the most unique next Mario character. People could say like Paper Mario, but there's some similarities he might still have to Mario, even though he will have the Mario RPG, Paper Mario series moveset. People name Waluigi and Daisy, and I just don't see them at all. They might be interesting characters, but I don't see them at all. Maybe Fawful has a chance, or Pauline if she gets used more, but the most unique character stands out to be him, and his game is just overall fun. I've played the levels in 3D World, and they're so freaking fun. I want to play the actual Treasure Tracker game. He is fun and unique, and I want to see him in there because he's just a fun, unique character that's just a fun new take on a character that's been around the Mario series since its inception. The Toads have been around since day one, and now we finally get a unique Toad. And that's kind of the reason why I want to see him, is because I think it'd be a fun, unique character that's just different and like stands out. And it's just like unique, and it's just a fun character, not like the super serious characters, but like a fun character to have. And I think it stands a chance in probability because it's like he is like currently like the most pushed Mario character, and I think if Mario does get a newcomer in Smash Bros. 5, chances are it's probably going to be Captain Toad. That was my number 10. Here is my number 9. Springman from ARMS, or in general just an ARMS rep. I actually haven't got around to playing ARMS yet, but the game looks so freaking fun. It's like Punch-Out on steroids. It's like this crazy, wacky world of characters that have extendable arms and do all these crazy, wacky attacks. Why do you not put a character in it? The reason why I want to see it is the character fits so much. The characters are so interesting. They easily will fit in with Link and Marth and Captain Falcon and the Pokemon and whatnot. And I picked Springman specifically because he's like the basic character, the main character. It'd either probably be him or Ribbon Girl, but like I said, with this entry, it doesn't necessarily mean it specifically has to be Springman. It could very well be any of the ARMS cast, but Springman is probably one of the more basic choices. And he is still interesting. It's basically give Little Mac blue hair and extendable arms, and that's basically what he kind of is. And I know we already have Little Mac, but it'd be kind of cool counterpart. Like, they could be rivals in the game. You could team them up or something. Like, it'd be kind of cool seeing Little Mac, like the original like boxing style Nintendo game with what ARMS is like Punch-Out in the future with people that have robotic extendable arms and stuff. That's the reason why I want to see him. It's just, have not played the game, but I'm interested in playing it because there's a lot of cool, wacky, colorful characters in it. And the probability of it happening is, it is a heavily pushed Nintendo franchise that's heavily pushed new Nintendo IP, just like Splatoon, and now the Inklings are in the next Smash Brothers. I think ARMS is going to be in that list too, just like how Xenoblade got a character with Shulk in Smash 4. The new Nintendo IP's been by Nintendo, they've been getting pushed, and Inklings are now making it. Xenoblade's in it with Shulk. ARMS is the next obvious choice. Number 8. King K. Rool. And the fact that he has not been in the Smash Bros. Game still kind of confuses me. I can kind of get it. I understand because he's not all that relevant to the series anymore. But he still has some relevancy because, the Mii costume in Smash 4. And he's made small appearances recently, like Jungle Climbers on the DS. And, Super Sluggers on the Wii and whatnot. But, why do I want King K. Rool? I grew up playing the Donkey Kong Country series. I knew of Donkey Kong pretty much from the Country series before I actually played the original game in the arcades, but the Game Boy version. I grew up with around the same time, but I believe I got into Country a little bit first, or around the same time. It doesn't really matter because I kind of got into Donkey Kong when he was relevant. I grew up in the 90s and whatnot. I didn't get to experience Donkey Kong before King K. Rool. I kind of experienced the original version on the Game Boy alongside the Country games on the Super Nintendo. And they were some of my favorite Super Nintendo games growing up. And he is such a good villain. I want to see him because of nostalgia. That is a major reason I think a lot of people want to see King K. Rool. It's because of nostalgia and he's a good villain. Why do I think he's probable? He's probably one of the least likely characters I think I have on this list because he's not all that relevant now. But I think he's still relevant because of his push and popularity. He could still very well be in the next retro Donkey Kong Country game if they do indeed make a third one. And he's heavily pushed. He made a Mii costume. Sakurai knows of him. He at least has a chance. Not in relevancy, but in terms of push. Relevancy is kind of his negative point because he's not all that relevant now. But that could change if they put him in Smash Bros. He comes to the next retro Donkey Kong game, or they put him in Mario Kart 9, or I don't care. He still has a potential chance to be relevant, but his probability is based off popularity alone, and that's kind of hurting him. But he still has a chance. It doesn't take away the fact that I'm nostalgic for him. He's a good villain, and I want to see him in Smash Bros. Number 7. Goes to the indie character Shovel Knight, and I know a lot of people are asking for Shovel Knight. He is an awesome indie character. The game is really freaking fun. It's really freaking hard. Oh my god, is it so freaking hard. I've only barely gotten to it recently. I have it on the 3DS. King Knight is easy. I got lucky to beat him, but Spectre Knight was a pain to fight. It took me 15 plus tries, and this is classic challenge. Those of you that like challenge from the old school NES and Super Nintendo games, this game is insane, and that's only in the first 2 bosses. And there's more after. It's just hard, 8-bit, 16-bit difficulty, and it's just a fun platforming game with a cool main character that has all these wacky attacks like Infinidagger and all this other stuff. And the shovel and everything, he'd be a cool indie character. He's not my number one wanted indie character And if you know who I would be asking for, and I need to fix my phone, thank you. You know who's going to be later on this list. Spoilers. But he's still a heavily wanted character. Why do I want him? It's a fun game with a fun character with a fun moveset, and he's a popular indie character. It's just like it's just a fun game that I would like to see a sequel to. Yacht Club Games. And the probability of him being in is pretty decent. If they do pick an indie character, I think he is one of the top 2 or 3 choices they might go for. And they might go for him because of his popularity with Nintendo, his closeness to Nintendo, even though he's on all their platforms, which doesn't affect third-party characters all that much. And, yeah, his probability is at least there. He's probably one of the more likely characters on the list, but not the most likely character on the list. And he's definitely not my most wanted indie character, and it should be a spoiler for who's higher up on the list somewhere. That is number 7. We are at number 6. 6 goes to Sora from Kingdom Hearts. I know he's not entirely likely. He's probably one of the lesser likely third-party characters because Kingdom Hearts is mostly a PlayStation thing than Nintendo, but it has had in games like, Dream Drop Distance, Recoded, Chain of Memories, maybe Kingdom Hearts 3 Square. I keep saying this in all my videos. Can you please put that on the Switch? Just imagine if at E3 they announced Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming to Switch and Sora is in Smash Brothers. I mean, Kingdom Hearts is one of my favorite RPG series of all time. I love the idea of mixing like the Square Enix worlds, like Final Fantasy and whatnot, with Disney. It is kind of cool seeing all these Disney worlds, and I want to see more of them in Kingdom Hearts 3, like Treasure Planet and whatnot. But it's a cool action RPG, and I loved it since day one. I remember seeing it in like a PlayStation magazine, like CD, like the game and whatnot, and seeing it in magazines and highly anticipating it and buying it like launch day back in 2002 is one of my favorite games, and I would love to see him in Smash Brothers. I love Kingdom Hearts. I love Smash Brothers. That's the reason why I want to see him. His probability in liking this, he's not as high up as, say, like I just mentioned with like Shovel Knight or some of the other third-party characters higher up on this list, which kind of spoils that there's going to be more third-party characters on this list. He's not high up in terms of probability, but he still has a closest to Nintendo, and Nintendo's kind of building their relationship up with Square to the point where maybe we'll start seeing more of their games on the platform, and maybe they'll put more characters in Smash Bros. Than just Cloud. And I think the next obvious choice is Sora. He may not be the most probable of like the third-party characters I could see potentially in Smash, but he's at least in the top 10, but like in the lower half of the top 10. Now we're in the top 5! And number 5 goes to the third-party character from No More Heroes, Travis Touchdown. I love the No More Heroes franchise. I played the first 2 on the Wii. I beat them. Some of those bosses are hard as hell, like Alice in the second one, or part of the final boss in the second one, and numerous bosses in the first one. Wackiness, craziness. What gravitated me to that series is because it's like it mixes wrestling with anime with video games, and just this otaku video game player that loves wrestling and uses a beam katana, which is like a freaking lightsaber. And the action of it, it's just an awesome environment for an awesome hack and slash beat 'em up adventure game. And I just love the games, and I'm highly anticipating Travis, Strikes Again, coming, and it's like a spin-off type game. It looks still fun. I'm kind of disappointed it's not No More Heroes 3 yet, but that eventually probably will come on the Switch. Maybe No More Heroes 4 too. The series is going to continue, I'm sure. But he's an awesome character, and he's also just like kind of like Sora, not the highest probability of a third-party character in the game. He is higher up on the list than Sora, I will say that, but he's not as high up as say some other third parties are for Smash Brothers. So why I want him is because I love the series and I love the character, and he's just a cool moveset and world and everything he could bring to Smash Brothers, and what stage he could bring. Oh my god, look at all the worlds you can visit, all the places you can visit, and like No More Heroes. His probability, not the highest third party, but he's in. I think he makes it in the top 5, like the bare minimum, like 5, maybe 6. He's like one of the more probable third parties because the No More Heroes series is so closely associated to Nintendo. Travis Strikes Again is coming to the Switch. There's a probability, like Sula said, that No More Heroes 3 can come to the Switch. Put 2 and 2 together, he has a good moveset. And he's popular. There you go. That's my number 5. Now number 4. And this goes to a possible character, not a definitive character, because I do see one of these characters actually getting in, and that goes to a character from the Fire Emblem game on Nintendo Switch, Fire Emblem 16. It's just likely we're going to get our friggin' I'm not going to even say why I want to see the character first. I'm going to say the probability. It's pretty much guaranteed we're going to get a new Fire Emblem character. The new Fire Emblems are just around the corner on the Switch. It's the big new HD Fire Emblem, the return to consoles since like the days of Ike's games. It has been on handhelds ever since. Now we're finally getting a console one. It's going to be heavily pushed by them. So the likelihood of us getting a new Fire Emblem character, since we've gotten at least one every game since Melee, is pretty much 95 to 100%. And it's either going to be a Fire Emblem Switch character and or Salico or Alm from Echo Shadows of Valentia. And that's pretty much what they're going to pick. And I picked this one because I love the Fire Emblem series. My reasons for why I want it. I love the Fire Emblem series. I love all the crazy characters from it. There's a lot of original, unique, different characters from it, which a lot of Smash Bros. Fans would probably disagree with because you probably don't actually play the series and you base it all off who's in Smash Bros. But there's so many unique characters. And if you want a unique character that's not a blue-haired sword user, you better hope that the main characters from this game, one of them has like orange hair, red hair, green hair, uses a freaking dagger, a lance, a spear, a hammer, an axe, something, because chances are one of these characters are going to get in, and you should better hope that they're original. And I love the series. Awesome series from Nintendo. One of my favorite series from Nintendo. And I want to see more characters from it and some more original different characters from it. And there you go. Number 4. Now we're in the top 3. Number 3 is going to go to Rex and Pyra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Shulk made it in the Smash Bros. 4, and I heavily pushed for him. It's like he was like my most wanted Nintendo character for Smash Bros. 4, and he made it in the roster. Xenoblade finally, one of Nintendo's biggest, newest IPs in recent years outside of Splatoon, made it in the Smash Bros. And now Splatoon makes it in 2. Sorry, I need to fix my phone again. And then we got Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U, and now Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's a Nintendo IP that's heavily pushed by Nintendo, super popular. The probability of us getting a character like Rex is pretty much about 90 to 100%. It doesn't necessarily have to be Rex and Pyra. It could be someone else from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but he is the main character, so that makes it more likely to join and accompany Shulk in the game, because Shulk's not going to get cut. And, the probability of us getting a character, since it's so heavily pushed, just like ARMS is, just like Splatoon is pretty freaking likely, and Shulk's going to get an accompanying partner probably by Rex and Pyra. I used to push Elma, but I think Xenoblade Chronicles X is kind of falling to the wayside now for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It is a big, fun RPG, and the reason why I want to see him, the game is awesome. He has awesome moves. You can do a lot of stuff with him. He's a cool character. He could be a cool character accompanying Shulk, and I'd love to see him in the game. His probability is, like I said, about 90 to 100%. He's almost guaranteed, like the Inklings were. Number 2! And this is the indie character, and you should obviously know who it is, that I want more than Shovel Knight, and I think is more likely than Shovel Knight 2. And that goes to Shantae. Shantae's been around since 2002, has had 4 games, all of which have been on Nintendo. I know they've put some on phone and other platforms too, but all of them, she has such close ties to Nintendo. All her games have been on Nintendo since her Game Boy Color original game. She has, why I want to see her? It's a cool, unique character. She's a genie that can transform it into monkeys and bats and whatever the heck else. She can do genie magic, whip her hair. She can do pirate attacks, she can use a pirate hat to jump down, use a cannonball, because in one of the games she loses her genie power, so you can mix the pirate moveset with the genie moveset. A unique character, probably one of the most iconic indie characters outside of Shovel Knight. One of the more popular indie characters outside of Shovel Knight. I would like to see her because the games are freaking awesome. It's awesome platforming action. And it's such lovable characters and art style and world and music and everything. I would love to see her finally in Smash Bros. And now, because now the games are starting to come to Switch, like the half Genie Hero and whatnot, and all that. All the games are pretty much coming to Switch. It's time to finally add her. I think it's between her and Shovel Knight. I would love to see both of them. If I had a personal choice, like I said, it'd be, since she's number 2 and he's number 7, I would love to see Shantae more, although I think they might put Shovel Knight in more. Who cares? I really love to see both of them, though. And her probability is, she's pretty much probably one of the more likely third-party characters, at least in the indie side. And I know there's certain other third-party characters that might be more likely than her, but in terms of indie characters, I think she's in there. I think in the top 5. She's in the top 5, barely above Travis, who's above Sora, who's below, and she's in the same vicinity as, say, Shovel Knight, and there's 2 or 3 above her. But I think she's in the top 5. I really do. And I think her push from her games, how close they are on Nintendo, I think that's her. I think she has a chance. A good chance, not a 100% chance, but a good chance. And that is everyone except for number one. Drum roll, please. I haven't done this in forever. My number one wanted... This phone just wants to keep annoying me, doesn't it? My number one wanted newcomer, most wanted newcomer, and Smash Brothers 5 is Bomberman. He is such an awesome, iconic character. I grew up with Bomberman. I have been playing Bomberman games since the Super Nintendo. Bomberman has been with me in terms of Nintendo systems as long as Mario and F-Zero have. Longer than Zelda. I didn't get into Zelda until Ocarina of Time on the N64. I never played A Link to the Past till much later. But when I was growing up back in the day with the Game Boy and the Super Nintendo, Bomberman was there alongside Captain Falcon and F-Zero, Mario and Super Mario Brothers, and Sunset Riders and Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Ryu from Street Fighter, Scorpion and Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. All the games I grew up with, he was one of the characters I grew up with. So for me, it is iconic. For me, he is nostalgic, and I would love to see him in Smash Brothers. He is my number one wanted third-party character in Smash Brothers. Rex is my number one wanted Nintendo character. He's my number one wanted, third-party character, which is similar to how in Smash Bros. 4, my number one Nintendo character was Shulk, and my number one wanted third-party character was Mega Man, both of which got in. I would love to see both Rex and Bomberman, and Bomberman has an awesome moveset. He's just an awesome character, iconic, and the probability of him getting in, he is closely tied to Nintendo. A lot of his games are on Nintendo. He had games on Super Nintendo, the DS. He almost had one on 3DS, N64, GameCube. Super Bomberman R was on the Switch, which means he's at least semi-recent, and Konami seems to give a crap about the franchise now, or give a crap about gaming in general outside their stupid, pachinko machines. And hopefully, him being owned by Konami doesn't screw him over. But his probability, he's probably not the most highest third party, but he is definitely in the top 3. And I'd say even the top 2. He is one of the top choices I could see probability-wise they could pull from the third parties. Him and probably Rayman. And I would love to have him in the game. And that is it for my top 10 wanted newcomers in the next Smash Bros. Game, Smash Bros. 5. Number 10, Captain Toad. Number 9, Springman. Number 8, King K. Rool. Number 7, Shovel Knight. Number 6, Sora. 5, Travis Touchdown. 4, Fire Emblem Switch. It's Fire Emblem 16 character. 3, Rex and Pyra. 2, Shantae. And number 1, Bomberman. Put in the comment section what you guys think. What do you guys think of my top 10s? This is a slight return to top 10s. I will bring them back eventually. I hope you guys like this. Put in the comment section what are your top 10 wanted newcomers in the next Smash Brothers. See you all later.